The Trump administration is reportedly reversing a previous order to halt ICE raids on farms and at hotels. Just last week, we told you about a pause on those sectors because some business owners were concerned they would lose too many workers. But now the Washington Post is reporting agents have been told to continue those raids. CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Scanga brings us more now from our Washington bureau. Good morning to you, Nicole. It sounds a little bit confusing. Why the sudden reversal? Was the administration unaware of the impact of targeting these specific workers?
Yeah, Errol, at best, it's mixed signals on President Trump's signature issue. At worst, it's policy whiplash for political reasons. Just to catch up some of our viewers who, admittedly, if you're confused, you're not alone. You know, rewinding to Thursday night, several days into those targeted operations that we saw in Los Angeles, Trump announced he planned to change enforcement tactics to protect farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business. He posted on Truth Social at that time that people in those businesses have said his immigration policy is taking away good workers from them. Then 72 hours later, the president returns with another immigration missile, so to speak, on Truth Social and directs ICE to expand deportation efforts in sanctuary cities run by Democrats, saying you don't hear about sanctuary cities in our heartland. And just yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security telling staff that it's reversing that initial guidance last week, directing agents not to conduct immigration raids at farms, hotels, and restaurants, a decision that, frankly, stood at odds with President Trump's initial directive, in short, because of some of the reaction that it has received politically, Errol.
Yeah, and that's why I was wondering if they didn't expect that type of reaction. What then has been the reaction to these mixed signals? Because, if anything, people...
I'm not surprised that this decision was reversed by President Donald Trump. I'm really not surprised because regardless of what you think about illegal worker or illegal immigrant in the United States, they play a very important role for the U.S. economy, especially for the service that they provide for industries such as hotel, restaurant, and even farming. It's obvious that these business owners in this industry were impacted by his decision, and they contacted powerful lobbying groups in Washington, D.C. to let the president know, listen, Mr. President, the decision that you just made is having a huge impact on our businesses. So you should try to reverse it because we might be out of business because of that decision. Because every U.S. industry has a powerful lobbying group in Washington, D.C. And they utilize these lobbying groups to shape policy, through policymaker, through politician, and even through president. And this is an obvious sign that these industry and these business owners in this industry are being impacted by this decision. And let's also not forget that President Donald Trump himself is a businessman. And I'm pretty sure he has a diverse investment portfolio inside these type of industry. I'm pretty sure he has some kind of restaurant, some kind of hotel, and some kind of farming that he owns that is probably also being impacted by this. And whoever is managing his assets while he's president is probably letting him know, Mr. President, your bottom line could also be impacted by this decision. So it's probably smart for you to be able to reverse this, to let ICE know not to raid these restaurants or these hotel or these farming, because it will have an impact on how a lot of workers function in those businesses. So I'm not really surprised that this decision was taken by President Donald Trump, because this industry is very, very important for the U.S. economy.
And so do these communities. And I will say there was a political flashpoint that led to all of this last week in Omaha, Nebraska, a state that Trump won by nearly 20 points. There was a raid of a food processing center. Glen Valley Foods is now out of business after that raid. 70 individuals were arrested, and there was some rare Republican criticism of that operation, which led to President Trump changing his policy. But we're seeing the president now have to sort of juggle different parties, or I should say different corners of his party, different areas of his base. He appeals to those who are concerned about economic headwinds, trade mayhem, and labor shortages within the agricultural and food processing sector, as well as those who are more immigration hardliners. And leave it here, Errol. This administration wants 3,000 ICE arrests per day. Even on their busiest days, they are not reaching half of that. So something here clearly has to give if they're going to appeal to those immigration hardliners in their base.
All right, Nicole Scanga with the latest on this. Thank you, Nicole.
This is a prime example of how policy can have an impact on so many industries throughout the United States. This is just a prime example of how that can have an impact on so many people's life and so many businesses throughout the economy. So I'm pretty sure this decision was made just because a lot of business owners were complaining about it. And as you can see, a lot of farmers are impacted by this because our economy and many industries is so intertwined and so interconnected with each other that if one industry is impacted, keep in mind that there might be other industry that is also impacted by it. This decision that is made by President Donald Trump probably doesn't have an impact on the tech industry, and it probably doesn't have an impact on the automobile industry. But this decision has an impact on farming industry, restaurant, because a lot of farmers, they need a lot of workers to be able to pick up some of the fruits and vegetables that we see in grocery store. Regardless of the modern tools that they use today, some things still need to be handpicked by workers. And let's just be completely honest with each other. The average American, the average 18, 19, 20, or even 30-year-old will not want to work in a farm field because it's very, very labor intensive. And many of them will rather work in a warehouse, fast food restaurant, or try to become a content creator or do something, especially if they have a lot of options. So a lot of farmers depend on illegal workers because some of them don't really have a widespread of option to choose for their occupation or for the jobs that they want to do. So they choose to work in farming because that's probably the only type of job that's available for them at the moment. So it does make sense for the farmer to actually be impacted by this decision. And now, will this also slow down or even cause some of the protests to basically trickle down or to stop? I don't think so, because a lot of people who are protesting, they're protesting for many reasons. Many people are protesting because their family member is impacted by this decision. Many are protesting because their business, as you can see, a lot of people had their business shut down because of this decision. And other people are protesting because either they were laid off, they lost their job, they don't have nothing better to do. And when you watch some of the protests, you see people are waving the Palestinian flag, you see people are waving the Mexican flag, and you see people who are wearing masks, and there's people who has bad intention to cause chaos, to cause riot, to cause just widespread fear among the protesters, to just trigger the police to be able to act a certain way so they can blame the police for the violence that's happening. So there's so many things that, could be a possibility of why people are protesting. But the main thing is a lot of people are protesting because they don't like the decision that was made by President Donald Trump to give ICE the authority to start raiding inside people's businesses, people's homes, and so many other things. And he just authorized ICE to focus more on democratically run cities and to go inside their sanctuary place, meaning like places that mostly illegal immigrant gather, which is if I'm not mistaken, like places like Home Depot, places like Lowe's, where they stand outside and wait for someone to come and pick them up to be able to provide service for them, to be able to work for them for a cheaper labor. Because if you go in certain places in America, in some cities, you'll see a lot of illegal workers standing outside in places such as Home Depot, and there's other places, other organizations that also assist them. So I'm not really surprised that this decision was made, and this just shows just how much policy being made by people in Washington, D.C., by Congress, by the president, and so many other people in position of power can have an impact in so many industry and in so many people's lives. Let me know what you think in the comment. Please make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. Until next time.